In total, State House is requesting approval of 459 billion in supplementary. The approved budget for State House is 479.8 billion. This will bring total State House budget to 939 billion this financial year. This is a revision of 95.9%. This translates into 2.5 billion per day and 107 million per hour, including at night when State House occupants are supposed to be sleeping. Considering that we are spending 1 trillion on parish development model per year, and you know parish development model is supposed to finance 3.5 million households, translating into 14 million people. So the amount of money we are spending at State House is equal to the amount of money we are spending on 14 million people to get out of poverty. The money we are spending on the residence of our dear leader is equal, as I said, to money spent on 14 million people. Can you imagine some of the money State House is asking for, which we will borrow, is for youth mobilization tours? You have seen my friend, the Honorable Barugahai, is addressing a rally every day asking younger people to support an old man. These State House requests must be rejected with all the contempt that it deserves. Recommendations are here. First, reject all supplementary requests that represent poor planning rather than genuine emergency. Require the Ministry of Agriculture to produce a full cotton value chain report before any further support private companies like fine spinners. Freeze all agricultural areas until an independent audit verifies supply, distribution, and impact. Demand a national equity framework to ensure balanced regional development in agriculture, energy, water, and industry. Require the Electoral Commission to provide a list of new polling stations and full documentation of the biometric system before funding is approved. Finalize stalled rural electrification works before releasing funds for new connections. Require government to present a detailed due diligence report on Uganda Airlines aircraft purchases before approval. Demand audited performance and sustainability reports for Soroti Fruit Factory and all UDC investments. Mandate quarterly implementation reports to Parliament for all supplementary expenditures approved. Right, honorable members, in conclusion, the people whose taxes we oversee do not enjoy supplementary lives. They walk long distances for water, they give birth under torchlight, they watch government planes fly over their villages while waiting for electricity poles that were erected 5 years ago. They deserve planning, not improvisation. They deserve fairness, not favoritism. They deserve a government that manages their money with discipline. This minority report is presented in defense of those Ugandans whose taxes you are about to authorize luxury spending. We refuse to endorse worst political convenience or poor planning. We dissent because it is our responsibility to do so. One is the procedural irregularity of supplementaries to committee before they are tabled in Parliament. The overall size and character of the supplementary request, the repeated supplementary financing for long-standing predictable obligations, unequal allocation of development funds, the political risks, excessive reliance on classified expenditure, failure to plan for donor exits in projects that are donor funded, recurrent bailouts of entities, persistent lack of documentation for key infrastructure, and major election spending without proper disclosure. I'll begin with introduction. Right Honorable Speaker, honorable members, in all my 14 years in this House, I have never seen a supplementary request that casually rewrites the national budget the way this one does. A revision of 6.255 trillion, the chair has said the request is 8. What was tabled and for which the minister confirmed yesterday was 6.255 trillion. I don't know at what stage it became 8. Above what we approved is nothing short of excessive. Our national budget of 72.376 trillion can only be lawfully revised through supplementary expenditure in cases of genuine emergencies such as natural disasters or unforeseen crises. Yet here we are with 459 billion requested under State House, including allocations for youth mobilization for the NRM presidential candidate and other items disguised as classified. So the NRM candidates wants money for mobilizing youth. They are called youth tours. Suddenly, the political discomfort among younger people who are not supporting President Museveni has been turned into an emergency that must be funded at once. The handling has been equally troubling. I learned of the budget committee meeting through a phone call from the chair, barely 10 hours before the sitting. Yet Rule 2134 of our Rules of Procedure provides, unless the House is sitting not less than 48 hours, not shall, the word shall, be given to members of the committee when calling any meeting. The word is shall. But the chair casually called me at night. He said, come in the morning. The rules assume that MPs conduct serious business on behalf of citizens, not that we gather to rubber stamp or validate the wrongs of the executive, which is what this process now appears to demand of us. So the first area of dissent is non-compliance with the law. Article 156, sub-article 2 of the Constitution states that if in respect of any financial year it is found that A, the amount appropriated for any purpose under the Appropriation Act is insufficient, or that a need has arisen for expenditure for a purpose for which no amount has been appropriated by that act, or that any monies have been expended for any purpose in excess of the amount appropriated for that purpose, or for a purpose for which no amount has been appropriated by that act. That's what is important. A supplementary estimate showing the sums required or spent shall be laid down before Parliament, and in the case of excess expenditure, within 4 months after the money is spent. So this is a constitutional requirement, laying of the document, the requests before Parliament. The Public Finance Management Act, Section 24, is clear on how supplementary budgets are processed. It states, the total supplementary expenditure that requires additional resources over and above what is approved by Parliament shall not exceed 3% of the total approved for that financial year without approval of Parliament. Section 24(1) states that where funds are expended under subsection 1, supplementary estimate showing the sum spent shall, this is a law, it's not a rules of procedure. The law says shall be laid before Parliament within 4 months after the money is spent. Rule 160 of our Rules of Procedure states that the Minister responsible for finance shall, and you can see from the Constitution, shall, to the Public Finance Management Act, shall, to the Rules of Procedure, shall, in accordance with Article 156(2) of the Constitution and Section 24 of the Public Finance Management Act, present before Parliament supplementary estimate on behalf of the President. Rule 160 says the Speaker shall commit, the word shall, commit the proposed supplementary estimates to the Committee on Budget and to each, please take note, to each sectoral committee, the part of the supplementary that falls within the jurisdiction of the respective sectoral committee. Subject to Regulation 18 of the Public Finance Management Act, Regulations 2016, as amended, a supplementary expenditure request must meet the following conditions. I don't have to emphasize them: unavoidable, unforeseeable, and they are all explained in the law. The supplementary expenditure requests before us do not conform to these conditions. They may be sweet. I have seen colleagues celebrating, but the conditions were set by this House. Right Honorable Speaker, these are the provisions of the Constitution and the statutory procedures laid out for processing supplementary estimates. Perhaps the Speaker did not fully consider these constitutional requirements when she received and referred the supplementary request to the Budget Committee. Knowing that the requests had not been properly presented to Parliament, the chair of the committee should have immediately drawn the Speaker's attention to these provisions. Since this did not happen, the Speaker now has no option but to adjourn this matter to allow the proper process to be followed. Because this was the Constitution. You can suspend the rules. You can't suspend the Constitution. You cannot suspend the Public Finance Management Act. Don't stampede Parliament. That's what the Constitution and the Public Finance Management Act says. The role of the sectoral committees. Supplementary requests from ministries and agencies are supposed to be scrutinized by sectoral committees, which on behalf of Parliament supervises these sectors. This is not a ceremony, but a safeguard for citizens' hard-earned taxes. There are more than, I put 50, but 100 agencies requesting for supplementary budgets. Sectoral committees are required to scrutinize these requests and report to the Budget Committee within 14 days. We received these requests, I don't know, maybe on Sunday, because on Monday, and then the following day the chair was calling a meeting. So the requirement is that you refer portions to sectoral committees for scrutiny before you authorize. The Budget Committee has no capacity to inquire into the details of all these requests. You needed to be in the South Committee room where we sat to witness the stampede firsthand. All these agencies streamed into the room and crowded the corridors. This should never happen again, Right Honorable Speaker and members. The MPs on the Budget Committee who arrived from up country in the morning and went straight into the meeting were visibly tired. Even when I pleaded with the chair that we were tired, he simply said, "Let us go ahead." Some ministries and agencies appeared with no written briefs at all. Others came with loose sheets of paper. Some simply recited figures with no clear explanation of how they arrived at them. This is unacceptable. Before you approve expenditure, you are supposed to look at the procurement plans and work plans under Section 12 of the Public Finance Management Act. That's what we did when we were passing the budget. That's what should be done. The Budget Committee sat for about 8 hours yesterday. It is not possible that it scrutinized all these documents, and the rule on referral is very clear. These are referred to you for scrutiny, not just for coming here and you repeat what the minister has given you. This practice creates room for abuse. Figures can change, like you have seen them actually changing. The minister brought 6 trillion, the chair is reading 8. Even me, a member of the committee, senior member, I don't know how they rose from 6 to 8. Items can be smuggled in or removed before formal tabling. Yesterday, we even had a throat food factory with no money, with no source of money, but it had also been put here. Uganda cannot manage trillions of shillings through informal briefings and hurried presentations. We must insist that the minister tables the documents properly before Parliament and only then refers them to the committee. Anything else compromises transparency and exposes public funds to risk. Any attempt to process these supplementary requests amounts to overthrowing the Constitution, the Public Finance Management Act, and our rules of procedure. I agree there is room to suspend the rules, but there is no room I am aware of for suspending the Constitution. Source of funding. Rule 162 states that the supplementary estimates presented under sub-rule shall clearly spell out the source of the funding for the supplementary expenditure request for each vote. Reason, you passed a budget here. The moment you allow the Honorable Musasi to go and change it by 8 trillion, he will be removing money from the items that you approved and putting the money to the items that he likes. For example, there is the money for youth mobilization tours. Where is that money coming from? All that must be explained according to our rules. What the minister, my friend Honorable Musasi, did was simply place the word government of Uganda, GOU, or external, at the end of each request. Yet the rule says clearly the source for each vote. The rules require that the source of funding be clearly spelled out. If the minister is allowed to play around with the budget this way, he will remove money from critical items and divert it to useless and unquantifiable things like youth mobilization tours under State House. Revising budget, initially, I was going with a figure given to us to 78. Now it is to 80 trillion, because if a budget of 72 you are adding 8, we are now going to 80 trillion, the total budget. These supplementaries 1, 2, and 3 have revised the budget, as I said, you need to take note of that, to now 80 trillion. This revision carries far-reaching consequences for the economy. Financing these supplementary requests through borrowing will automatically raise the public debt. Remember, we are already borrowing 32 trillion to finance the approved budget. We are now set to return to commercial banks to borrow for all sorts of things. Parliament must examine all documents that accompany the budget to ensure that there is no deviation. These include the Charter of Fiscal Responsibility, the borrowing plan, and other related documents. Parliament must also study the findings of the Auditor General. In several of his reports, the Auditor General notes that supplementary requests are routinely made even when there is no actual money available to fund them. So it becomes a ceremony coming here, you pass, and they are not funded. Supplementary is becoming the main budget. Right, Honorable Speaker and colleagues, Parliament is being asked to approve more than, it's now 8 trillion in supplementary funding. If this continues, we will soon reach a point where the annual budget is treated as a ceremonial event, where the real spending happens through supplementary schedules. Road contracts that have been running for years cannot be classified as emergencies. Oil palm compensation has been ongoing for a decade. The UPDF hospital in Imbuya has appeared in 3 consecutive supplementary requests. Donor exits, such as you said, have been announced far in advance. By the time we did the budget, we knew that you said they had gone. We knew that money had been withdrawn. These are predictable matters that should have been foreseen in the main budget. Right, Honorable Speaker, from the foregoing, it appears that government has chosen to treat Parliament as a fallback position for everything they failed to plan for. So they just walk here and the chairman will come here, proudly say, we pass. The cotton-linked buffer stock and quiet favoritism. The Minister of Agriculture is requesting 6.1 billion shilling for what they describe as support to the cotton value chain. The first component is to cover the transport of cotton lint for fine spinners. The second component, which they revealed to the committee, is government's plan to purchase T-shirts from fine spinners and then sell them to the Uganda Tailors Association to recover the money. So you can imagine, you're borrowing money to buy T-shirts. Right, Honorable Speaker and colleagues, this is where the alarm bells ring. We are being asked to believe that government is going to bulk buy T-shirts using public money, hand them over to a private association, and then somehow recover the funds. This is the kind of transaction that begins in a ministry and ends in a political rally. You've seen where candidates are going, especially the NRM candidate, even in Karamoja, where 62% don't have clothes. He has dressed an entire rally. That is in the report of, you can't say order, this is the report of the census. The trouble is that you don't read. Ugandans have seen enough election seasons to recognize when something is not adding up. Cotton farmers in Acholi, Teso, Buked, and Western Nile have waited for real support for decades. Their cooperative generally collapsed. Their farm gate prices remain miserable. Yet instead of helping farmers, government wants to subsidize the logistics of a private textile company and then buy T-shirts using the consolidated fund. The same fine spinners have supplied apparel to government programs before. Now government is positioning itself as their biggest customer in an election period. Supporting the textile sector is important, but not through hurried subsidies, opaque transactions, and a sales arrangement that no one can reasonably verify. If government wants a national textile strategy, let it table one. This business of buying T-shirts for tailors using taxpayers' money is not a strategy. It is a risk, and Parliament must not approve it blindly. Agriculture areas and the geography of favor. Right Honorable Speaker and colleagues, tea seedlings areas have become a permanent feature of supplementary budgets. Apple seedlings, also supplied on credit, have now joined the queue. This is a system where suppliers deliver for years without a budget and expect Parliament to clear areas at the end of each financial year. It is not sustainable. Worse still, the same districts benefit repeatedly. Some parts of Western Uganda appear almost every year in Ministry of Agriculture submissions. Meanwhile, farmers in Northern Uganda have no tea nurseries, no larger-scale seedling support programs, and no agro-industrial facilities. Equity has become rhetoric rather than practical. Electoral Commission and the mystery of new polling stations. The Electoral Commission is seeking more than 460 billion for ballot papers, biometric systems, and the creation of new polling stations. Yet they have not provided a list of these new polling stations, nor have they justified the expansion. They also did not present technical documentation for the new biometric system. Election management should not be based on trust. Parliament cannot approve technology we have not seen, or polling stations whose locations are unknown. In an election year, such a past raises serious concerns. Minister of Works and Transport Crisis Management. Right Honorable Speaker and colleagues, the Ministry presented a long list of stalled, suspended, or slow-moving road projects. These include Moroto. I don't have to read them, the chair read them here. These roads have been under construction for many years. Their financing needs were known. Contractors have been waiting for payment. There is nothing sudden about these obligations. They are the result of chronic underplanning and poor cash flow management. A supplementary budget cannot clean up years of negligence. Uganda Airlines and the cost of flying without a plan. The ministry is requesting more than 400 billion to purchase new aircraft for Uganda Airlines. Yet the country has not recovered from the Bombardier deal, where we purchased aircraft that were already being phased out. Global production slowed, spare parts became scarce, and maintenance became a nightmare. The airline has been grounded more than once because mechanics could not source essential components. Right Honorable Speaker and colleagues, we are now being asked to buy more aircraft before conducting due diligence on viability, maintenance, costs, routes, and long-term sustainability. We are being asked to purchase planes before addressing the problems of the ones we already have. A national airline should be a source of pride, but pride must be backed by planning. Parliament should not approve aircraft purchases that may leave us stuck once again with obsolete models. Before the government buys any new aircraft, a thorough due diligence process must be presented, including maintenance projections and route sustainability. Uganda cannot afford another Bombardier disaster. Even basic legal procedures have not been completed. There must be shareholder resolutions regarding capitalization, and these must be registered with the Register of Companies. We have a report of the COSASE which this Parliament approved. That's why I didn't include it in the report. In the report of COSASE approved here, COSASE recommended that we should be leasing instead of buying, and Parliament approved. Now it cannot be the same Parliament that approved leasing, now is saying buying. People who read the answer will wonder which sort of Parliament was this one. Water and energy in this area. Honorable Speaker and honorable members, the Ministry of Water and Environment is requesting funds once again to connect 156 villages under SCAP 100, yet they cannot even provide a simple list of these villages. They want to expand umbrella water systems before addressing the same system that are unreliable and already too expensive for our people. Similarly, Right Honorable Speaker and members, the Minister of Energy and the Mineral Development still has electricity poles standing like abandoned monuments in many trading centers following the rationalization of rail. Transformers are nowhere to be seen and hospitals spend hours in darkness. Yet the same ministry is demanding billions for new connections while the old unfinished work is conveniently ignored. Right Honorable Speaker, this country needs proper sequencing, not a rush to announce new projects. We should complete what we start. It makes no sense to seek more money when already funded work is still hanging. Let us fix what is incomplete before moving on to the next project. Defense and nugatory expenditure hidden behind classified budgets. Right, Honorable Speaker and colleagues, the first problem before us is the ever-expanding envelope of classified expenditure. Every year it grows, every year it returns, and every year we are expected to approve billions we cannot trace, verify, or interrogate. That's how negatory spending hides in plain sight. When money enters a classified corner without clear boundaries, it comes out as a bill to the taxpayer with no evidence of value created. A country cannot build accountability on invisible figures. It is in that context that other concerns emerge. Take the UPDF National Referral Hospital in Mbuya. This is not a classified project, yet it appears repeatedly in supplementary budgets with no clear progress, no timelines, and the same items returning like a bad chorus. Even more confusing, the National Medical Store is seeking supplementary funding to supply commodities for the same hospital, where the Minister of Defense is also requesting 10 billion to capitalize the hospital. Two different votes, one hospital and no clarity on who is actually responsible for what. This is how wastage takes root. Parliament must insist that hospitals are completed, budgets are harmonized, and the taxpayer is not billed twice for the same medicine. UDC and the perpetual bailout model. Sorot Fruit Factory is now a yearly visitor to this house. Every financial year, it needs capitalization. Meanwhile, farmers in northern Uganda watch their mangoes rot in gardens. Industrialization cannot benefit one region repeatedly while treating others as afterthoughts. UDC must operate as an investment arm with performance indicators, not a rescue agency for struggling factories. State House. State House has spent more money under the 3% already. That doesn't require prior parliamentary approval, and they are asking for more. Right, Honorable Speaker and members, the report ends there. Thank you very much.